this whole life thing is not guaranteed and tomorrow is not a given and you can't really take things for granted. And so I show up to work with a pretty positive, borderline corny enthusiasm like every day.
As you are continuing to go on your path and your way up to being a strong account executive, just talk to me about how do we tie all of this in that we just discussed? Your mindset, your being authentic. How do we tie that into leadership? Because you are right now an individual contributor. How do you still bring in this concept of leadership to you in the current stage of your life right now, and how that impacts other people that you're with?
It's a good question. I think title and if you're a leader are not even close to correlated, honestly. But to your point, like I don't have a direct leadership role by any means. I think the thing I try to incorporate in every aspect of my career, and my life is just authenticity. And so, honestly, so given the history I had, like losing a parent at a really young age, I've just had an early understanding that like this whole life thing is not guaranteed and tomorrow is not a given and you can't really take things for granted. And so I show up to work with a pretty positive, borderline corny enthusiasm like every day. And I remember one time I led a team meeting. We had just like gotten assigned a new team of account executives. We all knew each other as colleagues, but didn't know each other that well. And I reached out to my manager. I'm like, Jesse, I think we have an opportunity to do something that brings us closer as like humans and allows each other to get to know each other on a deeper level. And so I led a session, which is essentially like you go around the room and you share like what's the biggest like thing you've overcome or obstacle in your life, and then what's your North Star? Like why are you doing this job? Why are you working hard? All that stuff. And I told for the first time my team the story of my mom and everything. And I remember one of my colleagues was like after, he's like, JC, like I always thought that this was like somewhat fake, like your energy and the way you show up. And he's like, now I understand like why you're so positive. And so I just think people resonate to authenticity. I think that's why my LinkedIn is like starting to get some traction, is it's like 1000% me, and like whether you like it or not, it's authentic. And so I think that's step one, is people can smell bullshit from like a mile away. And if you're yourself, people gravitate towards that, no matter if you're in a leadership position technically, or if you're just an individual contributor. People kind of gravitate towards real.
Quite a few teams in my day of account executives and SDRs and all of that. And, when it's a team that all just reports to me as the so-called leader, right? I mean, sure, we can do them and that's just the stage, but like, I don't want to be the only damn leader there. I want each individual to be a leader, right? And the first step is to lead yourself, which I think, you are a great embodiment of like, hey, before I can even think about, impacting or influencing anybody else, if I'm not impacting, influencing myself in a positive way and also bringing compassion to myself, good luck doing anything else. But by you doing that and leading yourself, what I see you doing is then that just naturally transmits to the people on your team. It's almost like your orb around you is starting to, come from a certain higher level of frequency that just people are picking up that frequency and being called into a higher level of leadership themselves. And that soon turns into like everybody's starting to vibrate from the same type of thing, and it's becoming the team. And so it's like, you don't need the title, like you said, to be the damn leader.
I think what you said too is so true. It's like, it starts with you got to do the work and do your job. So I just got promoted to mid-market and I'm on a new team now. And I don't care what I did last year. Like, we are all on a level playing field now. We're all at zero. Brand new year, brand new team. And so I told this to my new manager. I'm like, I'm not going to come in with any expectations, assumptions that I'm going to be a leader on this team, or come in with any kind of ego. Like, step one is I need to prove I can perform in this role first, and like focus on me. And I want to make sure that I get to know everyone before I like attempt to step up in any leadership role. And I think that's part of it too. Like Kelly Wright, who got, she was a board member at Gong and then got hired on as our president. The first thing she did for the first 2 months was called a listening tour, where she literally just interviewed almost every employee at the company for 15 minutes and didn't implement a single change or anything. But it's like, step one, let's just understand like how people are thinking, how everyone's feeling. And that's kind of like the approach I'm trying to take this new team as well. It's like, I don't want to force myself into any kind of role until I know like what's best for everyone and can prove I can do it myself. So that's just my approach. We'll see how it works out. Hopefully I can replicate last year, but.
Well, it's always stage zero. It's like I used to have a motto on my team, and I maybe even created T-shirts out of this because I love the motto so much. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just like first part of the first part. That's a mindset right there. I hope to be on my deathbed and be like, beginning of the beginning, baby.
Yeah.
That's actually truly what I believe. Like, hey, it's always there's an infinite journey that we are on here, but it's more of like, hey, I'm going to continuously begin, whether you want to call it the beginner's mindset or just like a level of curiosity that says, man, sure, I might know some shit, but like I got a lot more shit to learn.
So much. Oh my God. I don't know it. Yeah. I don't know anything. It's crazy to think about like how much more we don't know than we'll ever know. And like, I don't even know the things that, yeah. But the only other thing I wanted to add, because you asked about how to like be a leader in a non-leadership role, but I think this applies to leadership roles as well, is just giving back. Like, the amount of people that have taken time out of their day to mentor and to give me guidance as I was an SDR, wanted to become a really good SDR, and then was a SDR, wanted to become an AE, and then a young, early, shitty AE trying to become a proficient AE. Is like the amount of people who went out of their way to hop on a call or provide guidance or do a mock call meant the world to me, and it helped me so much. And so you try to like pass the torch along. So whether that's helping other SDRs or helping a new AE or hopping on calls with someone, like I always think it's important to just try to give back as you learn. And that was kind of the catalyst for like even starting posting on LinkedIn. So I was like, man, I think I'm learning things here that are really helping me. Like it would be such a waste not to try to share that with other people, and hopefully they can replicate that success. So I think that's a huge component of leadership. And like, I've been fortunate to have the best managers in the world at Gong who do that and lead by example in that regard as well. Just constantly giving back, constantly sharing best practices. So been exposed to really good leaders.
Thanks for listening to the Rising Leader Podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button so you get notified every time a new episode releases. If you know someone who wants to take their lives and their career to the next level, send them this episode so we can all rise together. For more information, check out alluviance.co. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, keep letting it flow.